Ha! I'm George Thomas. It's 2:15. Wait. Sorry, it's 1:49 a.m. I'm a bit loopy right now. I'm joined by Steve Doerschuk of the Canton Repository, Marla right now of the Akron Beacon Journal, and Nate Ulrich from the Akron Beacon Journal, who are both in Pittsburgh, and they got to witness. Can we call this history? After an eon, it seems. Was history made tonight? The Browns 48-37 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers, where we've talked about ghosts for 2 weeks. The ghosts were exercised tonight. That's without a doubt, because they jumped on the Steelers from the start, and they basically didn't let up. Hey, we got 6 people. You guys are crazy. How you doing? Did they exercise those ghosts tonight?
Yeah, of course they did. First playoff win since January 1st, 1995. Snapped a 17-game losing streak in Pittsburgh. It was just an amazing way to start the game. The first snap from Marquise Pouncey, a 9-time Pro Bowl center, going over Ben Roethlisberger's head. Carl Joseph recovers in the end zone for a touchdown, and that started what became a NFL record first quarter of 28 points. NFL playoff record, highest scoring total in the first quarter by anybody. Just an amazing way that this Browns team came together with so much adversity. They didn't even practice until Friday. I can't get over it. I just thought it was going to be too much for them to overcome. But really, what it did was it brought them together. That doubt motivated them. So did Juju Smith-Schuster. And, Ben Roethlisberger, Mike Tomlin, the real Steelers with T.J. Watt and Cameron Hayward in Heinz Field, all those demons, dragons, ghosts, whatever you want to call them, were exercised.
Sitting there.
I go back to 1964. I was alive and old enough to remember the 1964 game. Remember, the tragedy of it was that it was blacked out, if you can imagine that. The equivalent of the Super Bowl being blacked out. You can't even watch it in your own market. But, of course, everybody in Ohio, myself included, was watching on television. And the excitement on that, it was a championship game. Everybody knew what it was about. My dad and all his friends were really into it. I was really into it. And that was quite a moment. I'm bringing it up from the standpoint, the best Browns playoff game that I can remember since that 1964 season was against the New York Jets in the 1986 playoffs. The game looked like it was going to be impossible to win, and it became a win. And I was in the stadium that day, and the excitement was beyond belief. It was surreal what the atmosphere was like at the stadium. But one last point I want to make is this game tonight fits in with those two in its own odd way. But if you use your imagination, that every single person who's ever watched the Browns was in their living room or in some sort of a gathering tonight watching the game. And if you extend your imagination, can you imagine what all the collective sound would be like? You could take everyone that and everyone who was watching the game and put that all together. That was all there. That was very, very real tonight. And I got to think there were a lot of really overjoyed household tonight, and even on into this morning over that game tonight.
If I put all the collective alcohol my friends have consumed in the last few hours together, that would be quite impressive too, I'm sure.
I was at that Jets game. I don't think any Browns game I've ever seen will ever match that. That being said, that first quarter, I'm sitting here watching, taking notes, and it's like, what's going on? What's happening? This isn't supposed to happen. And that was the surreal part to me. And the fact that it just kept rolling in that first quarter, really, I'm like, I don't know what to think. I didn't know what to think. And then in today's age, you're watching a Twitter feed at the same time. Northeast Ohio didn't know what to think. So
Mike Tomlin didn't know what to think, George. I mean, one of the interesting shots that went over to Mike Tomlin had him really looking flummoxed and perplexed. I'm thinking, well, Tomlin looks like a guy who's never seen anything like this before. But then he never had seen anything like that before, and none of us have seen anything like this before from the Browns or maybe anybody else. Like you said, Nate, at the top of your take, NFL record, was that an NFL playoff record for most points in the first quarter? So nobody's seen anything like this, and that showed in Tomlin's early on.
But what I think is the most shocking is I thought if they were going to come out to a fast start, you had most of your players on offense. I thought it was going to be the offense that was going to do it. I didn't think it was going to be a COVID and injury racked defense that was going to go crazy with all these takeaways. I mean, I know that's their MO as far as the way this defense has thrived, but that was just incredibly stunning to me.
Yeah, because, I mean, they were without their top corner, Denzel Ward, who's also their best player in the secondary. Their third best corner, their number 3 corner, Kevin Johnson, both out because of COVID. And then, of course, they lost Olivier Vernon, their second best pass rusher, to the ruptured Achilles last week. So, yeah, I'm with you, Marla. I did not think that this defense had that in it. I mean, we've talked about it going back a long time, George. I mean, you were like, hey, this defense, what's going on? I mean, yeah, they've created some takeaways, but can they actually win a playoff game with this defense? And I think for the most part, we were like, probably not. So, wow. I mean, this was a stunner. And I just can't get over the fact that, it started the way it did. And then also, got to give the offense credit too for capitalizing on a bunch of those takeaways and obviously the early 3 and out. The first 4 Steelers possessions were just disasters, and the Browns scored after each one of them, even during obviously the lost snap in the end zone.
You mentioned the Browns being galvanized by one thing in particular, Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah.
The Browns is the Browns. I'm sure, with all due respect, I'm sure that thought crossed the minds of Northeast Ohio when the Steelers scored those 2 touchdowns in the second half. And I think it was their first 2 possessions.
Yeah, it was.
What crossed your mind? And both of you being there, what crossed your mind?
Well, Marla was sitting next to somebody who was getting really, really amped up and hyped up in the press box, just really nervous. I just says, just calm down here. Just because, seriously, I don't want to name who it was, but we've seen this where the Browns look like they might blow it, right? Like the old Browns would against the Dallas Cowboys, against the Tennessee Titans. But they've worked it out. They've held on. And that screen pass, big feather in the cap of Alex Van Pelt filling for Kevin Stefanski. The screen pass on the 2nd and 10 to Nick Chubb after the Steelers scored and made things interesting. The Steelers cut it to 12 points. That screen to Chubb went for a 40-yard touchdown at the perfect time, 12:32 left in the game. And that was a huge, huge moment. And I think at that point, everybody kind of realized, okay, they're not going to blow this. And, of course, Taki's interception sealed it at the end.
That was just a brilliant call. And it's like you always wonder, we brought the question up before, why don't they use those backs on screen passes more often? And
I don't know if Nate heard me, but I was saying that from the second quarter on after they lost Conklin because the offensive line was, taking its lumps and they were not getting anything running, unless they ran outside. So I was I was ready to text the sideline.
That breaks NFL rules, doesn't it?
Yeah, you know what I mean.
But okay, so now moving beyond this, because we have to move beyond this, we go back to the reality-based world now where they're facing the defending Super Bowl champions next week at 3:15, I believe, on Sunday. That's a lot better than 8:15 on a Sunday, boy. At any rate, I don't see, with Mahomes, and mind you, I've watched a lot of Kansas City this year simply because I like Patrick Mahomes. And they've been up and down, but that secondary is constituted right now is just made for him to have a field day. And he doesn't necessarily turn the ball over. So what are they going to have to do? They have a puncher's chance in this game.
I think they did. They're going to have to do, George, what they did tonight. I thought in advance that they at least had the plan to try to win a shootout, and of course it became a shootout, and they won a shootout. But to me, against Kansas City, it kind of seems like a no-brainer. You have to get number one overall pick quality play out of Baker Mayfield and win another shootout. So I think it's as simple as that. You'll obviously deal with Patrick Mahomes as well as you can. You won't stop him. You better score a lot of points. And I think that is their shot. I actually think they have a shot. I think they proved that today.
Wow. They have a shot. Okay. I'm not used to optimism coming from
Well, I mean, you have to, George, I mean, don't you have to concede they have a shot? I mean, after today, seriously, after today, I mean, they should get Denzel Ward back. They should get Kevin Johnson back. They should have their head coach. They should have Joel Bitonio back. Now, we are most certainly right in the thick of this COVID situation still, so some other guys might end up on the reserve COVID-19 list. Some other guys might be unavailable for this game. I think it's a 3:05 kick, George, so you get 10 extra minutes on deadline. But the point being, I saw an early line. They're
10.
8 point.
It's 10.
I saw 8.
I saw an 8 as well, as far as that goes, but the lines are.
George has the Mayfield Heights line.
You don't give out my hometown.
But you're proud of that. So I don't know. I just think that, yeah, I mean, I think that Steve hit on something. It's got to be the shootout, which they have won some of those, including tonight. So, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't see it happening, but I see a way.
Well, but you can't discount the fact that they believe they can do these things now. They're not satisfied with just one win. And I would argue that I didn't think offensively they played fantastic. So they can still improve. It would seemingly be longer odds than this because Kansas City, in my mind, is more consistent than the Steelers were down the stretch. But
Marla, would you agree that, well, I don't know if they played fantastic before Conklin went out, but I think there was a very clear demarcation between before Conklin left the game and after he left the game. So I'd almost say that they were close to fantastic under the circumstances when he was in the game.
Well, I would agree with that. But like I said, after that, I thought, the offense started to struggle. So there is room for improvement.
There is. I still don't think that they have played the complete game. I think Jarvis Landry will say that again, and I think he'll be right again. We've seen it. We've seen this first quarter was amazing. We saw first half in Nashville. It was amazing. There's a lot of the Dallas Cowboys game was amazing. But, yeah, I don't think that they have put it all together, complementary in all three phases for a full, complete game. I kind of think last year in Baltimore, I just don't know if this team is obviously way better. They've achieved way more. I mean, it's not even close, but I'm just saying last year in Baltimore felt like that complete game. And I don't know if this Browns team has really maximize its potential for a full 4 quarters yet. I think that's what it'll take to knock off the Chiefs because they're that good.
Jarvis Landry wouldn't cop to playing a complete game if they won the damn Super Bowl. He wouldn't. So I like that about him. He's a perfectionist, but he's not going to admit to it.
Anyway, I think he's right this year.
But my point in this is that it's possible because that's still out there. I think that's a positive. I'm not bringing that up as a negative. I'm bringing that up as a positive. They can, there's more they can do.
Yeah, I agree. That's how I view it too. I think that is the thing to strive for, and the thing that you'll need to win in Kansas City.
I'm forever the realist, so bordering on pessimist in this case. So we're going to see how it shakes out because I don't know. I just don't.
Well, let's see who they got back and who is available. And, it's way too early to make up your mind.
That's very true.
Kansas City could wind up with problems too. You can't just say that the Browns have to worry about additional things happening. It's as much a mystery what's going to happen with any NFL team at this point of the season. So there could be some equalization there as well.
They haven't looked as dominating as they did last year. That's the thing. They've been very, very. What's the word I'm looking for? They've been living on the edge for a lot of games this season. That's the best way to put it. So I guess it's going to be a case of the Browns Nation is going to have a case of in Stefanski we trust and Baker we trust. I don't know, but
I think you're being overly pessimistic. I think the Browns have a stronger chance than you're allowing yourself to believe. I don't know that Pittsburgh is tremendously stronger Kansas City is tremendously more capable than Pittsburgh. Maybe we were having the same conversation after the Tennessee game, but that game really sold me. And this is another seller, a big seller for me on the kind of gumption that the Browns have. I mean, Pittsburgh with a mostly healthy team and that stupid arrogance and swagger that they have, and you just go out there and kick them up and down the field for a big chunk of the game. That I'm sold that the Cleveland has a shot at this next game. Love Andy Reid, kind of like Kansas City as a team, but not fatalistic about it whatsoever.
Did I sound fatalistic?
Use the fatalistic word.
And this is the John Dorsey Bowl too. I mean, his fingerprints are going to be all over this game. It's just interesting to see that. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes had a hell of a shootout in college, and we've written about it leading up to another meeting. And I mean that's I agree with Steve that's the kind of game that the Browns would have to win.
They've shown they can win in a variety of ways this year. That's for damn sure. So, if nothing else, if it has to be that way, it could be a lot of fun to watch.
I totally agree with that.
All right, guys, I think we all have work to do. I think I need another bowl of crunch berries to stay awake. Nothing like shooting sugar directly. And Futurama is off, so I'm bummed. We're going to say good night. We're going to say goodbye. We're not going to say good night.
We're going to say good morning.
Yeah, that one. All right, guys.
Have a good one.
Have a good night. You guys be safe driving home tomorrow. And